Hello everybody, what's up? It's Tim Michael. Welcome to my channel and of course all my crazy videos where I do tutorials on pretty much everything, and today is going to be a very interesting topic that really no one has ever asked me about, but I think that's because a lot of people are confused. Today we're going to be talking about DPI and PPI. What on earth is that? If you look on the top of my screen here, at the very top, I'm hoping it shows in here. It might not. You may see something that says New Canvas 9x12 at 600 DPI. What on earth is DPI? Well, DPI, let me make my brush a little bigger. DPI and PPI are exactly the same thing. Okay? And basically what these are is pixels per square inch. So pixels per square inch. Okay? And then the other one up here, DPI, is dots per square inch. Okay, now here's the difference. DPI, or dots per square inch, is in regards to print. So when you think of dots per square inch, you're literally talking the individual droplets that fit into a square inch of area in a print that you take off of a printer. Pixels per square inch is if you're drawing on a computer screen, and that computer screen is reading whatever you're drawing on it, okay? So basically, why is this important to us? DPI and PPI play a very important role in how defined, how high definition our artwork is. And a lot of people don't even think about that. I work at a day job. I'm a graphic designer by day. I do, thank you, honey. I do vehicle wraps. Check this out, guys. Crystal Pepsi. How crazy is that, huh? My wife and I tried that, and one day maybe I'll put up that video on YouTube. Anyway, if you guys have ever worked with a print company or done anything like that, then you may have bumped into this issue. But we have a lot of people who come into my office and they say, "Here, Tim, we want you to print this image on a 40-inch by 40-inch sheet of material. And here, use this image." And I'll open up that image, and that image was downloaded from like Google Images or something, and it will be maybe 120 or 1200 by 1200 pixels. Okay? All right. So I'm going to give you a lot of math here, believe it or not. This is the first time you will ever see me use math on this channel. This is a big deal. Tim's using math. It's freaky, isn't it? So 1200 pixels is equal to 12 inches at 100 DPI. Okay? So, it's going to be a really confusing tutorial. So bear with me on this, because this is really, really important, especially if you get into the world of print. Okay, so my printers at my office run at 100 DPI. That's the highest quality that they can print. So that means for every square inch, they can put in 100 tiny little dots, okay? So 100 dots. Some printers can do a lot better. Some printers can do 300 dots. But my printers do 100 dots. And for the kind of stuff I do, that's perfect. Now, if this client wants this piece, this little drawing that they pulled from the web, and they sent it to me, and it's 1200 by 1200 at 100 DPI. If I try to blow this up with 100 DPI, and I try to blow it up to be 40 inches by 40 inches, this DPI here has to shrink. And here's where I know that gets confusing, and we're gonna try and work our way through this tonight, okay? So let's go ahead and rewind back. I'm going to try and make this as simple for you as possible, because this is something I had to learn on the job. Okay, this is a big deal. This is something that really, really confuses a lot of people. When you're looking at your computer monitor right now, your computer monitor, okay, let's pretend that I'm an artist and I know how to draw a computer monitor, which looks like I'm drawing kind of like an old, really old-fashioned computer monitor, which probably all of you young kids don't even know what those look like anymore. Anyway, there's a really, really old computer monitor. When you're looking at, like, Google, and you look at those images on Google, most times those images are 72 DPI. And that's because your computer screen, this computer screen, reads at a maximum of 72 DPI. Excuse me, that was a burp. We just had pizza. DPI or 72 PPI. And remember that the only difference is that DPI is dots and PPI is pixels, okay? Now, if I'm supposed to blow this up or shrink it down, it's going to affect the resolution. That means that you have to, if you blow up a piece and you make it larger, you have to remove dots from that square inch to be able to blow up that piece even bigger. And if you want to make the piece even smaller, then you have to put in more dots to make it even more so. So if I take an image that, and let's just say that image is 1000 px or pixels by 1000 pixels, and we're going to say it's at 100 DPI. If I was to scale it down to 50 or 500 pixels by 500 pixels, that means it's going to double the DPI. So that means that in the end, it's going to be 200 DPI. But that means it's only half the size of the original. So that means you're gaining resolution. It might look a little better, but you have to go to half size to make that happen. Or if, is that right? Yes, that's correct. Or if I go the opposite direction, say I make the graphic even larger, and I make it 1500 by 1500 pixels, then in the end, that's only going to be 50 DPI. Which means it's going to be much more pixelated, because if you look here, 100 DPI means that you're going to have a much more fill in that individual inch, because DPI is dots per square inch. So there's going to be 100 dots within 1 square inch. 1 inch, 1 inch, okay? In the same way, if you can shrink the artwork down, that means that you're like doubling up the amount of dots in that square inch, which means the quality is going to be a lot better, okay? And then if you do 50 DPI in the square inch because you're trying to make the image bigger, that's a lot less dots, and it's going to look a lot more grainy, okay? So I know that that might make a little bit more sense, but maybe we're not quite there just yet. Let's look at this. This is a technique that I learned to explain this in the past. Here is a cup. This cup has this much water in it, half of the water. If we decide to make this cup bigger, if we decide to make the cup larger, and we keep the same amount of water in it, that means that that water is going to fill up more area below. It's the exact same amount of water. The cup is bigger, so that means that the water doesn't take up nearly as much room as it does in the smaller cup. Same goes the other direction, where maybe we take the cup really, really small, and that water, which is the exact same, fills up the cup most of the way. That's basically all you're doing when you're looking at an image. Close Spotify, there we go. When you're looking at an image and you're thinking about dots per square inch, you're filling that square inch with extra more or less space. Now let me go ahead and show it to you in this way. We're going to do a file. We're going to say File, New. And I'm going to say I want the resolution to be 72 DPI at 9 inches by 12 inches, okay? And in pixels right now, if I look at pixels, 648 pixels by 864 pixels. I know that's a little confusing. I can show you something a little later to help you out. I'm going to go ahead and make that new canvas, and I'm going to draw these lines here. They don't look too bad, do they? Now, if I start zooming in, though, they start looking a little pixelated, and you can see these individual squares pretty quick. Let's go ahead and make a new canvas again. We're going to jump this up now to 300 dots per square inch, or pixels per square inch. And I'm going to make the new one. So it's the exact same size, but now there are more individual dots filling up each part of this file. So I can go ahead now, make these same shapes again. We can zoom in, and they still look really clean. They're still looking clean. Still clean, still clean, still clean. And they haven't even... All right, there's the pixelation now. And that's because, even though we zoomed in, this right here has less dots per square inch, 72 dots per square inch, and this one has more dots per square inch, which means it looks a lot cleaner. There's no pixelization when I zoom in to the same amount as I did the other image. Isn't that cool? Your mind hopefully just exploded just now. You can raise the design quality of your artwork by raising your DPI or PPI by going File, New, and it can also be called Resolution. You can see that right here, Resolution. Now you can go all kinds of crazy and you can do different amounts of resolution. I can go all the way up to 600 and I can draw these same shapes and I can zoom in and zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, and now I'm starting to see the pixels. Pretty great, but here's the thing. If I save out these files, this file right here with these 3 lines is going to be tremendously huge in comparison to these other previous ones. Okay? Now, there's also something else very important. When we go back to our original design here and we start considering how this plays out. When you think about printing something, okay? This is going to be one of those things where it's kind of challenging once again. Let's do 72 DPI. When you think about printing something, okay, and you decide that you want to print your piece of artwork, so let's go ahead and make a face here. Boop, 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 boop. And this one's at 72 DPI. This means that if you're printing this on a 100 DPI printer, you'll get an okay quality. This 72 DPI versus 100 is not too bad. It should print fairly well at this size. Okay, this size is 9 inches by 12 inches. Whoops, sorry. 9 inches by 12 inches. That's not bad. Now, if you want to get the full quality of this, then you want to shrink it down. So let's see how much we have to shrink it down to make this happen. Change image resolution. Actually, this is better done in Photoshop. We would have to shrink it down by an inch or 2 to regain some of those pixels. But here's the problem. You're thinking, oh, well, that's the instant fix. All I have to do is make the artwork smaller. No, because let's do this. Let me do this. We're going to go ahead and make a crazy jump over to Photoshop. And this is really hard to explain, and this is something where maybe we have to follow this up in future tutorials. But let me go ahead and open up my Adobe Photoshop, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at something really quick here. The basic theory that you need to keep in mind is that whatever you do, you need to do in a high resolution. You cannot fake an image to look at a higher resolution. You can, but it has a very negative effect, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay. So right here, you can see that it's very grainy. First off, it was shot in the dark, and that's not fun, for sure. Shot in the dark, which means it's going to be highly pixelated. And I'm just going to go ahead and go to Image Size, and we're going to take a look at what it says. Right now, because I downloaded this from the web, you can see it's 72 pixels per square inch, or DPI or PPI, and it's only 960 px by 720 px. So if I want to make this 100 DPI, I can tell it 100. Let's see what happens. Let me get my keyboard out here. And we're going to say 100. And there you go. Now, it's blown it up to 1333 by 1000, which basically means 13 inches by 10 inches. And you can see that right here, 13 inches by 10 inches, because basically 100 pixels per square inch is equal to, well, basically 10. Is it 10? I think it's 10 dots or pixels per square inch is equal to 1 inch. So if I tell this to do 1 inch, like so, excuse me, hang on, I'm trying to think my way through here. Stop. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just say 1 pixel per square inch is equal to 1 inch, okay? So, I can't really blow it up. Let's try and blow it up. Let's see what happens if I blow it up. We're going to blow it up to 300. So you can see that the pixels are really going to increase, 4,000 by 3,000. And the image is huge, 34.3 megabytes. So if I hit OK now, it doesn't look bad, but it looks blurry. And that's because the computer is trying to fill in all of these missing pixels with extra pixels, which means that it's going to make a much more blurry image. Okay, let me go back here, and let's say that we want to go ahead and make this image printable. So if I set this to not resample, and I tell it to do 100, now you can see that my inches have had to shrink to do 100 inches. And I can hit OK. And now this thing's ready to print at 100 inches. And I can zoom in, and you can see the individual pixels, but I will never be able to increase this better. If I try to make it bigger, it's going to get more fuzzy. If I try to make it smaller, obviously the smaller I go, if I zoom out, the cleaner it's going to look, but it's not truly cleaner. You're not affecting this. What you're doing is you're simply minimizing the pixels that are there. But the loss of that is it's just still not going to be clean. So anything you do, you need to do in a high resolution. So don't do drawings in 72 DPI. Don't do drawings in 72 PPI. Even if you're planning on doing them just for computers which run 72 DPI, don't do it. Do it at a higher resolution. Do it if your computer can handle it. Try and do it at a minimum of 300. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of print companies that do things for like booklets and magazines and things like that, they prefer to run at 300 resolution. So if I put this at 300, look at how small my image is. It's literally 3.2 inches by 2.4 inches. And if I want to get a clean print on their machines, then I need to remember that my image is only going to be about as big as this, and it's super, super small to get that true decent, somewhat clean clarity. Okay, so just keep that in mind, and that's going to be something that's really going to help you out as you go through artwork. Not to mention, if you're a person like me who wants to go in and zoom in and get details as you're drawing, this is what you're going to get on a 72 DPI high-resolution image, because this is a high-resolution image. I'm drawing at 9 inches by 12 inches, which is basically equal, if it's at 100 DPI, it's equal to... I want to say, hang on, I'm thinking through the math. If this was at 100 DPI, right now this would be 9,000 pixels by 12. No. Okay, sorry guys. If this is at 100 DPI at 9 by 12, then you could make this image, you could print this image on 9 inches by 12 inches with clean clarity on the printers that I run. And if it was at 300 DPI, then that means, and here's the other thing, if you do a oversized DPI, so say you do an image that someone wants to blow up, and you set the DPI correctly where you set it at 300 or 600, you have basically 3 times the space to work with. And so if someone says, hey Tim, I want you to go ahead and take my image, which is 10 by 10 at 300 DPI, and I want you to blow it up 3 times. Okay, well that means that I want to blow it up not 10-10, not 20-20, but 30-30. And the reason why is because every time you blow it up, your pixels have to fill in, but since you have 300 pixels per square inch, and you know that my printers, the printers that I run during the day, run at 100, then you're going to have plenty of room to work before you start getting into a resolution that loses quality. So you can blow up that image, triple its size, to fit within 100 DPI, and you'll still be okay. And I am certain I'm still confusing you guys, and I apologize for that, but I hope some of this makes a little bit of sense. So we're almost done with our little tutorial here, guys, but take a look at this. You can see that I'm drawing detail, but I'm drawing details over this stupid pixelation, and it just, you don't want to spend your day drawing artwork that looks like this, with this kind of pixelation, to zoom out and then see it kind of in a cleaner format. That's not what you want to do. So if you go File, get rid of this window again, there we go, File, New, and change your resolution to 300, and then you do the same thing where we draw the same face, whee, with another eyeball, another mouth, beep, beep, like that, kind of like that. And then you go in here and you decide you want to start drawing in your eye detail. That's a lot less pixelated, folks. That's a lot easier to work with. And I can still see some pixelation in there right now, but it's not nearly as unbearable. And if you go higher in the resolution, you'll do even better. Just remember, the higher resolution you go, the more memory you're going to take, and the more your memory is going to have to be used. And I don't mean your memory as in your computer memory. I'm talking about your RAM. Your RAM is having to process all of this. That's your temporary memory. That's the part of the computer that's thinking about how to keep your computer alive while you're using it during the day. So keep that in mind. The higher you go in resolution, you're taking up a lot more memory of both varieties. The main storage, when you save this out to send to your clients, or whether it's the other style where what you are working in that moment, saving to your computer as it tries to remember this data, because you're working on a temporary solution until you save it out. So that's my tutorial for you guys today. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I know it's confusing, but I hope that you hit the like button. And basically, just remember, it's as simple as this. If you want to blow something up, okay, if you want to blow something larger than it is, you need to make sure that, first off, you know how big you want to go, and you want to compensate with the DPI/PPI, since it is the exact same thing. So if you want to take an image and you want to double it in size, you also want to double its DPI. So if I take an image and I draw it at 10 by 10 at 200 DPI, that means if I'm printing on a 100 DPI printer, I can double its size. So I can print it at 20 by 20 instead of just 10 by 10. A lot of people don't understand this, and so when they come to me at my job and they say, can you take this image that I got from the internet, which immediately makes me go 72 DPI, just made for screens, just made for web, and they want me to double it or triple it in size, I can tell them immediately it's going to look very, very pixelated, because there's no way to get past DPI scaling. There is one way, though, and I'm going to keep this very simple, and this is a tutorial we can talk about in the future. There is one type of graphic that is not affected by DPI or PPI. That's called vectors. And if you guys know vectors, then you know Illustrator, then you know Corel Draw, which I think Corel Draw does some vectoring, I'm not sure. But really, Adobe Illustrator does the best form of vectoring I've ever seen. And a vector image creates its own DPI/PPI, considering how zoomed in or zoomed out you are. It is a computer-generated artwork that can be scaled to any scale possible and not lose its quality. It's a completely different art style. It has a completely different flavor. It's handled completely different than what we're talking about. What we're talking about here in front of me that you're looking at right now, this is called rasterized artwork, which means we're not drawing computer vectored lines that can be read at any size. We're drawing a shape, and it's being created by individual spots of color, or pixels, or dots. And those things are affected by growth and size. Okay? I hope this helps. I would love it if you hit the like button. If you did enjoy this, I would also love it if you go ahead and stop by my Patreon and become a patron over there. There's a bunch of advanced tutorials over there, and I hope that you enjoy them. All you got to do is donate $1 for every video I make, and of course you can set your limits. If I go crazy and I make 30 videos in a month, you're not spending $30 because I made 30 videos. You can set your limits. Maybe you only want to donate to 1 or 2 videos. It's a humongous help for me. We got some big plans in the future, and I kind of need your help. So I'd love it if you guys went the extra mile in that. Now, of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, being a subscriber is just as important, and hitting that like button for me right now is very, very key. So I hope that you've enjoyed this. I look forward to seeing you guys in future tutorials. Be subscribed here for more tutorials as we get in more into everything. Tons of different stuff. So thank you very much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in my next video. Keep drawing. Have fun.